Hey everyone, welcome to Professor Long's Lectures in Anatomy and Physiology. If you're watching this video, you're enrolled in my class at Del Mar College or you stumbled across it on the internet. If you came across us on the internet, please know that you're going to have to learn the information the way that your instructors want to for your courses. We don't always cover every detail early on. Eventually the information becomes overwhelming. So we cover what we need to cover for a short period of time and then we add more as time goes on. So this video is intended for students enrolled in my class and how I want them to learn the information for now. If you're in my class and you're following along, we have been doing the introductory labs. This is the third video in a series of lab videos. On page 5 of your list of things to know, we're going to go over the regional terms so that you can hear me pronounce the names and you can understand them and you can understand how we might ask on a lab test. Okay, so I'm going to simply work my way down the list. This area, which we typically call the head, is called the cephalic region. Cephalon means head, so we can say cephalic or cephalon. The area that we know as the neck is called the cervical region. Cervicis and cervix mean neck. So if I ask you, please identify this region, you could say cervical region or cervical. The area of the chest is known as the thorax. So if I ask you to identify this area, maybe we put some brackets here or put some tape outline, you could say the thoracic region or the thorax. And of course the belly area from about breasts down to the top edge of the hips would be called the abdominal region or the abdomen. Okay, so make sure you learn those. Cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal. Now listen, A&P has a lot of information, and very shortly the information is going to build up. It's not that the class is difficult, it's that there's a lot of information to learn. So you're going to have to practice this information on a daily basis, regularly, until you can spit it out off the top of your head. Now, one way to do that is our brain can only remember between about 4 and 7 things in the short term. So don't go through the whole list and then go through the whole list and then go through the whole list. Your brain will remember a little here and there, and it gets frustrating. Pick 4 or 5 structures, put them in an order that makes sense to your brain, and repeat them and say them and touch them on the models or point to them on the pictures that you download until you can't stand it. And then do it again 3 or 4 more times. So what I would do is sit here and go cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal, cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal, cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal, cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal, cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal. Do it till you can't stand it and do it some more. If you utilize this technique for both lecture and lab, breaking things into small chunks, mastering it, and then stringing it together, you'll learn more quickly and have better recall for exams. Okay? So now, the next few regions I want to go. I may not go in the exact order of the list because sometimes I don't. My brain works a different way. Anyway, the next one that is on the list is the axillary region or the axilla. The axilla would be the armpit area. We call that the axilla. Some people say axilla or the axillary region. The area known as the brachium or brachial region would be your upper arm from about your shoulder to your elbow is known as the brachium or the brachial region. The area that goes from your elbow to your wrist, what we would typically call the forearm, is called the antebrachial region. Anti means before, brachium means arm, so your forearm is the antebrachium. There's an area called the antecubital region. Well, the antecubitus is the fold of your elbow right here. So you would see this little region right here, usually where someone's drawing an IV, would be called the antecubital region. Okay? Now, when it comes down to the end of the arm, we have a couple of terms. There's carpal, and then there's the manual region. Carpus means wrist. You've heard of carpal tunnel syndrome. So the carpal region would be the wrist area. And mano, if you speak Spanish, means hand. So the manual region would be the hand area. Like mano a mano does not mean man to man. It means fighting hand to hand, fighting with your fists. So, I apologize for that, but our lights are on a timer and they shut off if there's not enough movement in the room. That's going to happen to us a bunch of times probably as I make these videos. Please forgive me, but it's me, a cell phone, and a model, and I don't have anyone working things. So if any of these oddities occur, I wish I could edit them out, but I'm not smart enough to do that. So just bear with me, all right? So carpal, manual. Now, When it comes to this area, all the way across from hip to hip, from the top of your hips to the bottom of the hips, are about where the genitals are. This entire box area would be called the pubic region. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's called the pelvic region. This is the pelvis. Now, within the pelvis, there are a couple of sub areas that are important to note. The little fold that goes from the tip of your hip all the way down to where the genitals are is called the inguinal region. Inguinal means groin, and so it would be the groin area here, okay? And between the inguinal region, sort of this triangular area where the genitals are, where pubic hair would grow, is called the pubis or pubic region. So pelvis, inguinal on the fold, and pubis, okay? Know the differences. Now, when it comes to the leg, the top part of your leg is actually not considered part of the leg. It's called the femoral region, or some people say femoral region. Femoral would be about from your hip down to your knee, the femoral or femoral region. The area below the knee is technically called the leg, and it's divided into two parts. The front part where your shin is called the crus, and the back part where your calf is called the sura. So crus and sura. Now the area where your ankle is called the tarsal region. You can remember, you clap your carpals, you tap your tarsals. This is the tarsal region, the ankle area. So tarsal bones would be found in the ankle. And then of course this would be the pedal region. Pedal means foot, P-E-D-A-L, okay? Now your foot actually has two surfaces. There's a dorsal surface of the foot, which is the top, and then where you plant your feet on the ground is called the plantar surface, or the planta. So the plantar surface is the sole of the foot. Now if I flip them around backwards, there's a few things I can show you back here, okay? The lower part of your back is called the lumbar region. Lumbus means low back, so that's the lumbar region. The buttocks would be an area that we know as the gluteal region. What we call the buttocks is the gluteal region. And then the back of the knee, the fold in the back of your knee is called the popliteal region, or the popliteus. Some people say popliteal and popliteus, or popliteal and popliteus. Okay, so now I've gone over all the terms on the list. You should practice them. And again, break them down in groups of 4. Cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal. Cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal. Cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal. Pelvic, pubic, inguinal. Pelvic, pubic, inguinal. Pelvic, pubic, inguinal. Pelvic, pubic, inguinal. And then string them together. Cephalic, cervical, thoracic, abdominal, pelvic, pubic, inguinal. If you continue to say them and get a rhythm and do them in the exact same order over and over, you'll remember them more easily. And then you can add them in whichever order you want. You could go axillary, brachium, antebrachium, axillary, brachium, antebrachium, antecubitus. Axillary, brachium, antebrachium, antecubitus, carpus manus. And practice just a few at a time, and then see if you can run through all of them. You should do this until you can go through the entire model, every structure on the list of things to know, until you're you've completely mastered it and could teach this to someone without looking at your notes. When you can do that, you're ready to make an A. All right? Listen, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Do it till you can't stand it. Do it till you understand it. Then do it 3 or 4 more times until you can teach it to someone. See you on the flip side in the next video. Thanks.